morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mississippi Library. My name is Talia Ann Hines. I'm going to the 3rd grade, and I go to Jen Smith Elementary School.
Thank you, Talia. And I'm Meredith McGee, Jackson, Mississippi, an adult reader and learner.
Mary Hardy,
Greenville, Mississippi.
William Stress, Jackson, Mississippi.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Janice Neal Vincent, Madison, Mississippi.
My name is Teresa, and I'm 3 years old, and I'm going to the 1st grade.
Thanks, man.
Good morning. I am Ramona Jones, and I was invited by Dr. Janice Neal Vincent.
Thank you for coming. All right, so who wants to read first?
I will.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to read a piece, and I know I won't do it right, but I'm going to read a piece from the book, A Little of Me, A Little of You, Spoken Word Choir by Dr. Janice K. Neal Vincent.
Oh, wow.
I know I won't do it like her. I'm just going to read it. So the first piece.
That is so nice.
Excuse me. Good morning, y'all. I have arrived now.
Okay, then, Vicki.
Good morning.
Vicki, thanks for coming. We was right in the middle of the first reading. Mary is reading.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to read 2 pieces.
Okay.
A Little of Me, okay. Title, Face the World with a bold smile. Win every round, every mile. Keep swinging in the right way. Let the chips fall, come what may. Young boy coming, young boy going. Head held high, reaching for the sky. We've got your back, we've got your back. Young boy coming, young boy going. Head held high, reaching for the sky. And the next piece is Midtown Jackson. Midtown Jackson is our home, a place of mamas and daddies, and aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings and neighbors and all friends. Midtown Jackson is our home, a place of understanding and caring, and giving and receiving, and crying and smiling, and hurting and mending. Midtown Jackson is our home, a place of work and play, and cooking and cleaning, and hopping and skipping, and walking and riding. In Midtown Jackson, we are at home, a place we welcome and love. Thank you.
Oh, that was awesome.
Thank you.
I don't know what to ask.
And you know,
Janice about the poem.
Well, the first piece I read, I didn't read the entire piece. I just got the last of it, and it's entitled "Young Boy Reaching." I won't read the other part. I'll just let the ending do. Okay, if that's all right with Janice.
Well, Janice, can you give us background on the? Because I think you read that piece about.
She read
how
that.
you wrote it. Young boy reaching.
Because Trey was over here reaching while she was reading. He was reaching.
So maybe that's why that piece came to me, because she had read it. Okay.
That's a very good piece, because it's a very encouraging piece, I think, to in particular to the Black male. That's what I thought the audience was of the poem. Is that right? Is that right, Dr. Benson?
Young Boy Reaching is, yes, it's dedicated to the Black young man in terms of all that he has been through and has to continue to go through in terms of being a locked out citizen in society. So it's meant to encourage.
And
Giving hope.
I had planned to use this book in class in conjunction with some others when the pandemic hit. So I didn't get a chance to use it yet, but I am going to use it.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll read.
Okay, okay. Oh, yeah, you said you got a special book. I'm typing.
Well, I did. I had pulled out, and then this morning while I was ready, I decided I changed my mind. So I'm going to do something something I'm doing. I was wrapping my hair, and I remember reading about some kind of way it came across my Facebook page, that it used to be illegal for Black women to show their hair. And they by law had to wrap their hair. So I'm natural under this, and Meredith know I'm crazy about that afro, and I am appreciating Miss Sister Jones down there too. I love her hair too. So I said, and I said, well, I'm gonna do that because I didn't know it was illegal. So there were some articles out, but I'm just gonna read this one article, and her name is Jamila Nasheed, and it's called When Black Women Were Required by Law to Cover Their Hair. In the 1700s, the Tignon laws forced Black women in Louisiana to wear head wraps because their beautiful, elaborate hairstyles were considered a threat to the status quo. Growing up, I always wanted to tame my mane. It was tempestuous, wild, big, thick, and rough, the complete opposite of what my young, impressionable mind was told was attractive, what attractive looked like, simply by growing up in America. I had been led to believe that my hair was stressed out and needed to relax. So that's what I did. I relaxed my hair. And indeed, people looked at me differently once my hair became silky. I went from being a cute young girl to an alluring young woman, which is incredibly unfortunate because it seems to confirm that my hair should be disguised and tamed, that if I didn't chemically change it, it should be tucked away. I wish I had known then that women who look like me proudly wore their hair natural and kinky in America centuries before. Some of those women were even seen as being so beautiful that laws were put in place in an effort to diminish their beauty. Yes, their hair was so beautiful that it was illegal. In the late 18th century, new economic opportunities and growth led to an increase in the free African and African-American populations in New Orleans. This was because some people of African descent were newly able to make money, buy their freedom, and subsequently increase the free Black population. And with that came an increase in interracial relationships to the dismay of the colonial authorities. As Z. Winters notes in the Mulatto, Concubine, Terror, Intimacy, Freedom, and Desire in the Black Transatlantic, Charles III of Spain demanded that the colonial governor of Louisiana establish public order and proper standards of morality with specific reference to the large class of mulattoes and particularly mulatto women. During this time, women of African descent were known to wear their hair in elaborate styles. Yes, we've been fly for centuries by incorporating feathers and jewels into the hairstyles. They showcased the full magic and glory of their gravity-defying strands and appeared wealthier than they actually were. As a result, those enticing styles attracted the attention of men, including white men. To address this problem, in 1786, Spanish colonial governor Don Esteban Mayro, I don't want to butcher his name, enacted the Edict of Good Government, which also referred to as the Tignon laws, which prohibited Creole women of color from displaying excessive attention to dress in the streets of New Orleans. Instead, they were forced to wear a tignon, scarf or head handkerchief over their hair to show that they belonged to the slave class, whether they were enslaved or not. In The Devil's Lane, Sex and Race in the Early South, historian Virginia M. Gould noted that Miro hoped that the laws would control women who had become too light-skinned or who dressed too elegantly and who competed too freely with white women for status and thus threatened the status, the social order. In response to the laws, Creole women did cover their hair, but they did so with intricate fabrics and jewel. Think Angela Bassett in American Horror Story as real-life New Orleans sorceress, Marie Laveau. As Baton Rouge curator Kathy Hambrick put it in a recent interview with The Advocate, they owned it and made it a part of their fashion. Instead of a cover-up, the rest became a symbol style. And of course, the women continued to attract men with their extravagant hairdos. Once the United States took ownership of Louisiana through the 1803 Louisiana Purchase, the Tignan laws were no longer enforced. Still, some enslaved and free women of African descent continued to wear head wraps as a symbol of resistance to white colonialism. By the end of the 19th century, however, many Black women began straightening their hair in order to blend into a society that had established an Eurocentric ideal of beauty. This started with the use of hot combs invented by a French hairdresser in 1872 and grew after the influence of Madam C.J. Walker, who became the first Black female millionaire after she improved the hot comb and produced various products for straightening the hair of Black women. Then when the Black Pride movements of the 60s and 70s took place decades later, the Afro became the hairstyle of choice. It was seen as a form of resistance against the white status quo. So where are we now? In the century since, we've seen the abolition of slavery, the civil rights movement, and the first Black president of the United States. But have things changed for Black women's hair? In a sense, yes. My hair is no longer criminal, despite the fact that my skin appears to be considering the face of Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray, Alkins, Sterling, and many others, but it still causes some people discomfort. Still today, the act of not manipulating my hair is perceived as radical to a certain extent. And she wrote this article in 2018, and natural hair still catches many people off guard. It fascinates people. So much so that I, like many Black women, am forced to bob and weave as I politely sing Salon's Black Girls Anthem, "Don't Touch My Hair," when Curious Hand comes my way. Okay, now, it's almost over, okay. Nonetheless, times have changed. Here we are taking off our metaphoric tignans and embracing our kinks and curls publicly, from the world bearing witness to women like, Lupita, I don't know how to say her last name, and Viola Davis of Black Panther as they grace screens and stages worldwide, to our former First Lady rocking her natural hair. According to research firm Mental, 71% of Black adults wore their hair natural at least once in 2016, and Black spending on relaxers dropped 30.8% between 2011 and 2016. More and more Black women like myself are becoming comfortable with our hair standing out and standing up. We're slowly but surely changing society's definition of beauty. So to every kinky hair girl looking in the mirror, frustrated with what they see, cringing as the comb gets stuck in their coily strands, tempted by the allure of the creamy crack, remember that history proves the actual reason your hair is considered unruly is that it's so beautiful, it has the potential to upend white supremacy. And I come through with the hot comb. And that was torture for me. My mama would fuss, she pressed one side of my hair, then by the time she got to the other side, this side is drawn up. And I won't comb my baby girl's hair. And I just decided that I wore afros back in the day. And then I decided I didn't know it was gonna be a movement. And I appreciate however anybody wear their hair is all right with me. Cause I think it's cute long, it's cute short, it's cute straight, it's cute curly and coily. Whatever suits you is good for me. I admire it. But for myself, I decided to go natural. No, I'm sorry, not go natural. When people say you went natural, I said, no, I said, go is a action word. I returned to my roots. But I didn't know it was illegal.
I didn't
And
either.
now they've got laws that you can't, there are laws now that say you cannot discriminate against a person wearing their hair the way it grows out of their head. I think California was the first place to pass that law in the United States. And that's very recent.
Right, because some of the athletes were forced to shed their dreads. I know last year I saw on the news several people, which I thought was horrible. You getting ready to compete and somebody make you cut your dread. I mean, how can you really put your energy into winning?
Yeah.
But I thank you for that because I should have done that.
Well, they made that high school boy cut his hair, and he followed all their rules. I understand you don't want hair in your eyes and stuff. He followed the guidelines, and then it got so he either had to forfeit or cut his hair. And he shouldn't, and that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have happened. But I can appreciate however you do your hair. It's fine with me because I see all kind of cute styles. I'm looking at all these cute styles today. When
was it illegal for African women? I heard you mention New Orleans. What years was that?
Right.
Was that in the 1600s or 1700s?
It was. That was what did I say, 1798 or something like that. I had to go back. But I tell you what, I'm straight. 1786. But my hair, my stress level with my hair is now to 0. Because I was just one that would just be stressed out all the time. But I'm now down to my stress level with my hair is 0.
And so women started straightening their hair to elevate themselves, give themselves more class and status. That's what the offer.
Well, you know, they were trying to follow the what you call it, the predominant culture. And then I keep saying representation matters. Representation matters. We need to see people who look like us. What you need, everybody needs to see people who look like them. Whatever you look like. If you're in a wheelchair, if you wear glasses, if you're short, if you're tall, if you have, if you're missing a limb, people need to see people who look like them. Positive representation. That's for children and grown people.
Anybody else have any questions? I'm sorry, I had so much curiosity about it.
No, well, I can understand about the hair. My hair is not kinky, but it was not so I could manage it. My mother often said she braided up. And by the time she got my hair braided and braid another one of my siblings, my hair would be down. It would just work down because it was curly. And we always, 9 of us, and we all had a different texture of hair. And she often told us, girls, just be proud that hair is hair and just be happy you have some hair.
Yes. Because it's aggravating talking about grades of hair and all this. If your hair is healthy, you have good hair. How about that?
So hair is hair to me. Just happy you have a little bit on your face.
Oh, okay. So that was a very good story, Nanette. I thank you for that. And Talia, you want to go next?
Yes.
Okay, well, I want to say one thing when you said, before Talia goes, when you said representation matters, I can remember being 4 or 5 and seeing one of my mother's friends with a beautiful afro. And I begged my parents for days to let me have an afro like the lady, and they let me cut my hair, which was kind of unusual because back then people don't want the girls to cut their hair. But I begged, I worried them so bad. But that just goes to show that representation really does matter.
Yes.
Okay, well, Talia, you can welcome Miss Billy, we're glad to have you
Millicent
back.
now see, Millicent is she's natural, but she wears breast, but she's not. She has natural hair. In fact, all my sisters are natural. We wear it differently, but we're all natural. And my daughter's natural.
No
And my daughter-in-law is natural.
Blue triangle.
Oh, hey, Sharon, just thank y'all. Hey, Sharon. Okay, so Talianne is reading next. Sharon, you want to read after Talianne?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, you go ahead, Talianne, and tell us what you read so I can type it in the chat. And Lynette, you have a message in the chat. And so do you, Mary.
Okay. Kerneth with the hiccups.
Wait a minute, so what they say now?
Canary.
A canary with the hiccups.
Oh, okay.
It is gonna have like different kind of stories.
Okay.
The two greedy bears. Two bear cubs went out to see the world. They walked and walked until they came to a block. I'm thirsty, said one. I'm thirsty, said the other. They put their heads down to the water and drink. You had more, cried one, and drank some more. Now you had more, cried the other, and drank some more. And something drank and drank on their stomach, got bigger and bigger until a frog peeked out of the water and laughed. Look at those potty Billy bear cubs. If they drink any more, they will burst. The cub bears sat down on the grass and looked at their stomachs. I have a stomach ache, one cried. I have a bigger one, cried the other. They cried and cried until they fell asleep. In the morning, they woke up feeling better and camped their junk. I am hungry, said one. I am hungrier, said the other. And suddenly they found a bigger round piece lying by the roadside. They wanted to dive it, but that did not know how to break into the quality parts. Each was afraid the other would get the bigger piece. They agreed and they growled and they began to fight until a fox came by. What are you arguing about? The sultry one asked the bear cub. We do not know to deal the cheese. So what will both get equal parts? Say that's easy. She said, I'll help you. She took the cheese and broke into two. She made sure that one piece was bigger than the other. And the bear cubs cried, that one is bigger. Don't worry, I know what to do. And she took a bigger bite out of a large piece. Now that one's bigger. How practical. And she took a bite out of the second piece. Now this one is bigger. Wait, the fox said, with her mouth full of cheese. In just a moment, there will be a quality. She took another bite and then another. And the bear cubs keep turning their black nose from the biggest piece to the smaller one. From the smaller one to the biggest one. Now this one's bigger. Now that one's bigger. And the fox kept on drilling and drilling the cheese until she ate no more. Now good appetite to you, my friend. She flicked her tail and snagged away. But then all that was felt of the biggest brown cheese were two tiny crumbles. But they were polar bear. The secret of the polar bear is that it wear a long under sweater. In the summer, went eat. In the summer, we all. In the winter, we don't. In the summer, we play. In the winter, we all winter we sleep, each curl up a ball. As soon as the snowflakes started to fall. But in spring, we each come out of our deadlies and start eating all others again. Happy and healthy. Eat up, Rana. One morning we woke up late. I can't find my shoes. My granny won't eat her breakfast. Eat up, Granny, said Mom, but Granny threw her breakfast on the floor. Later on, we went to the bakery. Mom bought a bag of apples, some bananas. The man at the fruit stand gave me a bunch of grapes. He gave some to Jenny too. We ate up Jenny, said the man, but Jenny pulled up the grape off one by one and splashed them. Then we got home. Grandma had made dinner nice and spicy. Dad said, just now I like it. It was nice and spicy, all right. I drank 3 glasses of water. Eat up, Granny, said Grandma. Granny banged her spoon on the table and shouted, but she didn't eat a thing. In the evening, our friends were having a party. Eat up, everyone, said our friends. We did all except Granny. She sat on Grandma's knee and gave her dinner to the dog. When Grandma was looking, after the party, my friend came to stay, and we had a midnight feast. Gigi wouldn't have anything. She was too tired. In the morning, we made Gingy a feast. Eat up, Granny, said my friend. Gingy picked up her toy hammer and banged our fist to pieces. My friend thought it was funny, but Mom and Dad didn't. Soon it was time for us to put our best clothes and go to church. I sang very loud. The lady in front of us had a hat with fruit on it. I could see Gingy look and look. When everyone was really quiet, Gingy leaned front eat Granny, she said. Eat up, Gingy. Then she tried to pull a grape off the lady's hat. She pulled and she pulled, and the lady hat fell off. Gingy had her face in Dad's coat. When we got home, I had an idea. I found a plate and a bowl. I turned the bowl upside down and put it on the plate. Then I took a bunch of grapes and 2 bananas and put them on the plate. And it looked just like a lady's hat. Eat up, Ginger, I said, and she did. She ate all the grapes and the banana. She even tried to eat the skin.
That's
Hmm.
That's it.
No, I still got more couple of pages, but I can read some. Well, I know it's a longer book, but it's not anything. It's not about the Hardy chicken having a hiccup. It's just different stories.
Oh, okay. You almost through with that particular story. You got 2 pages.
I got more.
Okay. Well,
Thanks.
how many stories in? Oh, go ahead, Tanya.
Thank goodness for that, said Mom. We were getting worried, said Dad. Grandma,
Tanya,
ma'am.
I was trying to see if you was finished with that story so we could have another reader, because you know we read about a short story. So was you finished with the story about the animal and the banana?
Well, that was the end of the happy and healthy.
Okay,
But
yeah, so you can read the next one now at 2:15.
okay.
Now, give us a summary of what you just read, Tanya.
I just read about bears, baby bears were greedy, they was thirsty, then in the morning they felt grapes. Then they was hungry, then they wanted some cheese, but they argue about it. So a fox came out the bushes, then got the cheese, spread it apart into pieces and ate it, but only left a little bitty crumbs of cheese. So when it came to happy healthy, Gingy was a little girl. He thought it flew on the floor, couldn't find her shoes. So when it came to dinner, he banged his spoon and didn't eat anything of his food. Then when it was night, his friend came over and spent the night, but Gingy didn't have anything. He was too tired. And when they went to church, Gingy leaned in front and grabbed this lady's hat, but it was grapes. But it was stuck on the hat. Then when they got home, Gingy's brother turned over a bowl in a mat and put grapes and bananas on it. Then when Gingy got it, the mat was still on the table, but he ate the grapes and the banana. Then Mom and Dad was worried. Then that was happily ever after.
Well, it had a happy ending, and that's wonderful, Tanya. Oh, thank you so much.
Very good, baby girl. Very good. Yay!
Thank you.
Okay, so a Cherish is back, y'all, and she's gonna read about this red publisher. Okay. What's it? Cherish, tell me the name of the book. I'm gonna type it in the chat.
Name of the book is Watch Your Whiskers Stilton by Jane Stilton.
What? Watching Your Whiskers. That's not the one about the red publisher.
It's the one about the publisher.
Oh, it is. Now hold it back up for me.
Oh.
Hold it there so I can type it. Give me a second.
You know we want to know what's happening.
Watch Your Whiskers. Hold on, Karen. Whiskers Stilton. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to continue from the 28th page that I was stopped on. And I'm gonna summarize it up from the first page to the last page.
Okay, okay.
Shift, I cried, bouncing up to my paws. It's great to see you again. You see, Shifty had worked at the Rodents Gazette before. In fact, he'd helped me out of a tough spot when my grandfather William Shortpaws, also known as Cheap Mouse Willie, had fired the entire staff. Shifty had left us a year ago to pursue a business opportunity in Ratzikinston, selling ice to Eskimos. Only a salesman like Shifty Paws could pull something like that off. I had no idea he had come back to New Mouse City, but holy cheese, was I glad he had. Good morning, Mr. Stilton. It's great to be back, he replied in a loud voice. You called the right mouse. I stepped back, startled. There is no need to shout, I said. My ears are not stuffed with cheese. But Shifty only got louder. When you get right down to it, Stilton, how big is the company these days? He said. I started to reply. Well, we had about, he did not wait for me to answer. When you get right down to it, what is the problem? I tried again. Well, the problem is, when you get right down, what is my salary? I wasn't sure what to say. I think when you get right down to it, double your offer and I can start right now. Where's my office? Ah, that way. I guess as much. I'll be right back. Before I could think, Shifty grabbed the blue cheese from Marcella. Blue cheese, my favorite, he squeaked. Then he turned and ran out of my office. I heard him yell as he scurried down the hall. Watch your whiskers. Here comes Shifty Paws. I'm running the show here. So move your tails, everyone. It's selling time. That Shifty Paws is a born sales mouse. Marcella whispered. You're lucky to have him, Mr. Stilton. Do you think so? I asked. I really wasn't sure. Come on, it's selling time. 30 seconds later, the door flew open again. I jumped. Shifty Paws was back. He hopped on my desk. He took a microphone out of his jacket. Then he began to squeak orders at my staff. We need to sell, 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 SELL. Get it? He shouted. Sell! He paused. Then he announced his plan. First target, supermarkets and shopping malls. We will stand at all the entrances and sell papers to the rodents while they shop. Second target, roads. We will stand at traffic lights and sell to rats in the cars. Third target, train and subway station. We will stand at the train and subway station 24/7. We can sell books and newspapers to rodents on the go. Fourth target, door to door. We will knock on the door of every house and apartment in New Mouse City with a hot off the press copies of the Rodents Gazette. And here's the pictures. Fifth target, beaches. Rodents getting their fur tan will need to read too. We will go to all of the beaches on Mouse Island, sell our books and newspapers. Sixth target, movie theaters. We will sell to rodents as they come and go to the movies. Shifty's eyes shone behind his glasses. Are you all with me? Come on, it's selling time, he yelled. The staff was silent for a moment. They all looked at one another. Then they cried, "Hooray for Shifty Paws!" "That's the spirit," Shifty shouted. "We will save the Rodents Gazette." Everyone cheered. Then Shifty suddenly looked upset. "Crusty keypads," Shifty shrieked. "I lost my favorite cell phone." The salesman ran out of the room. I stepped forward. "I want to inspire my staff the way Shifty Paws had. Friends," I began, but a cry rang out. "Wash your whiskers! Shifty Paws is here." Shifty ran back into the office, pushing open the door. Once again, it slammed into me. I was a flat slice of American cheese. I slid to the floor. "Good news, Stilton," Shifty said. "I found my cell phone." I left it in the bathroom. Luckily, Marcella had another piece of blue cheese. The smell worked instantly. I stood up. She is the editor, and Shifty Paws gave the microphone to Creamy Old Cheddar. She is the editor and chef of the newspaper. She is also a good friend. "I would like to make an announcement," she said. "The staff of the Rodents Gazette will give up their vacation time so we can work to save the newspaper." I was so moved. I secretly wiped a tear from my eye. Creamy went on. We've also agreed to work for free until these tough times are over." And here's when Shifty came inside the room. Shifty Paws slapped me on the back. "You'll pull through, Stilton," he said. "When you get right down to it, we will save the paper. I'll stake my fur on it, or my name isn't Shifty Paws." My fur felt fried. Shifty Paws took back the microphone. "We need to find new offices right away. Any ideas?" Marcella spoke up. "My cousin is a baker," she said. "His name is Bagel Buckwheat. He has a large basement at 85 Curtis Court. We couldn't move the business there for now." Shifty looked pleased. "Excellent," he said. We will all meet at 11 o'clock tonight at 85 Kurt. Now everyone came and take a Now everyone come and take a pile of papers. Move those tails. It's selling time. Everyone took their piles and headed out to enact Shifty's plan. Everyone but Thea, that is. She was sitting at a computer, surfing the net. I could tell by the look on her face that she had an idea. Before I could ask her about it, Shifty hung a sack of newspapers around my shoulder. Then he stuffed a huge pile of books into my paws. "Move your tail, Stilton," he squeaked. "We need to sell every last copy before tonight. It's selling time." I started to protest, but Shifty Paw pushed me out of the door. "See you at 11, Stilton." I left the building, shaking my head. It was hard to argue with Shifty Paws. I found a good selling spot at the corner of Limburger Lane and Parmesan Place. I stood right next to the traffic light. When drivers stopped at the red light, I would shout, "Papers! Get the latest news fresh off the press." Cheese niblets. I had a tough time. It was so hot that all the drivers had their air conditioners on and windows shut. Most of them pretended not to see me. I tried pushing the books. "Books for sale." Nothing beats a good book on a hot summer day. But only a few people stopped to buy anything. But only The day dragged on. It got hotter and hotter. My fur felt fried. I had forgotten to put my sunscreen on my snout. I felt like giving up. I was about to walk away when a long, fancy car pulled up. Riding in the back were several female mice. I recognized one of them, the snobby Mrs. Edward S. Smuggled III. I heard Mrs. Smuggrat whisper, "Isn't that Stilton? Geronimo Stilton?" "Oh, it's him, all right." One of her friends replied, "I heard he is ruined. It all happened one morning. Can you believe it?" Mrs. Muggrat handed a large coin to the driver and whispered something. He rolled down the window, examined up and down. They gave the money to him. "Give me a copy of a newspaper," he said, "and keep the change." I blushed with embarrassment. But then I realized I shouldn't be embarrassed. I was just trying to save my newspaper. By chatter. I straightened my tail and took the coin. That's one more copy sold, I thought. I felt better after that. I decided to keep going. Papers, get the latest news. By the time evening fell, my snout was sunburned. My paws were covered with blisters from standing all day. My spirit was low, and I was hungry as a jumbo-sized cat. All I wanted to do was go home and curl up with a cream cheese smoothie, but Shifty Paws has called that 11 o'clock meeting. I couldn't let down my staff, so I dragged myself to 85 Kurtz Court. I saw the baker's sign on the building. Buckwheat's Bakery, the best bread you'll ever buy. Here is it. I walked inside and found myself in a basement. The smell of freshly baked bread filled my snout. A small rodent with twinkling eyes came toward me. He shook my paw. "Hi there, boss," he said in a friendly voice. "I'm Bagel Buckwheat. I hear business isn't so good." "My name is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton," I said. "I'm very grateful for your help. We are going through a tough time, but I'm sure we'll pull through." Bagel slapped me on the shoulder. He left a white flower paw print on my sleeve. "Of course you'll pull through, boss," he said cheerfully. "Never give up. That's what I always said. Keep hanging on, and things will work out. You can stay here as long as you need." Which reminds me, I'm not rich, but if you ever need a small loan. I shook my head, touched. "What a nice mouse." Bagel gave me a closer look and frowned. "Boss, you're looking a little pale. Have you eaten today?" Before I could answer, he pulled out a tray from one of the ovens. Then he handed me a piece of French bread covered with melted cheese. "Have a good munch, and life will look a lot better," Bagel said. "My cheese bread is guaranteed to bring a smile to your snout." "Thank you," I said. "You are very kind." "No need to thank me," Bagel said. "I'm happy to help. Now eat up while the bread is still hot." I took a bite and licked my whiskers. That cheese bread was delicious. Here's the bakery.
Okay.
If you ever need oopsies. The whole staff arrived for the meeting. We gathered around piles of flour sacks. Bagel handed out cheese bread to everyone. Shifty Paws was standing on a sack, adding up the day's sales. "Nifty," he squeaked. "You all did well." Then he jumped down. "We need a big pile of cash to get the publishing house back on its paws. But don't worry, I have an idea." Shifty slapped me on the shoulders. Now it's your turn, Stilton. What do you mean, my turn? I asked, puzzled. He winked at me. Stilton, do you know the television game show called The Mousetrap? I nodded. The Mousetrap is a game show with a spooky theme. I try not to watch it. I'm a bit of a fraidy mouse. You see, a spooky theme gives me nightmares. Well, then you know it's take place at midnight, Shifty continued. The player sits in a mousetrap. When he or she gives the wrong answer, the trap pinches his or her tail, sometimes even chops it off, right then and there on live TV. I shuddered. What does this have to do with me? Shitty smiled widely. Because you're the next contestant, Stilton. Pictured cheese puffs, I shrieked. No way, never. I'm too fond of my tail. I tried to flee, but Shifty grabbed my tail. Now, Stilton, don't disappoint me, he said. You asked me to save this publishing company, and I will. But I can't do it alone. I'm just asking for a small favor. I stamped my paw. Small favor? This is a big deal. I could lose a tail. Or you could win $1 million, Shifty pointed out. I paused. $1 million would solve all of our problems. We desperately needed that money. But why does it have to be me? I wailed nervously. Marcella stepped up. Nobody here is as smart as you are, Mr. Stilton. You know a little something about everything. If anyone can win on the mousetrap, it's you, I sighed. I hated to admit, but Marcella was right. I am a brainy mouse. Now things are much, 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 much worse than I thought, I cried. But I have no choice. I'll do it. I'll do it for the Rodents Gazette. Shifty paws let out a cheer. Well done, Stilton. We'll make $1 million. By the way, you're going on tonight's show. Are you ready? Are you? But I didn't hear him. I had fainted again. It's a good thing Marcella always had blue cheese nearby. Just the first 20 pages of the book, the last 20 pages of the book. Well, the first 20 pages of the book.
Okay, cheers. I got a very good, very good. Let's see, I had okay, so you said that they were selling papers and books at the mall?
Well, their whole Rodents Gazette was newspapers and books. Yeah, they were selling newspapers and books.
Oh, I didn't realize that from the other story that you read. Okay, and then also they were looking for new officers. And what, did they find the officers, and what's the duty of the officers that
they were looking for some offices to sell their books since they closed down their Gazette that they had, their whole publishing house. So they did find some offices, which was on the street, in the theaters, and random places that they know most people will be at. And one person let them stay there and sell all the books that they needed. And that was at the bakery, where they sell all the bread, all the good things that the whole city eats. So he decided to let him come in and he could sell it there.
This was smart group of animals. They're selling everything at the bakery. Well, that was a very good story. Thank you for sharing that story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's good. Yes.
Anybody else want to read something before Harry or Reese? He's gonna be the last reader at this one, and we have our awards at 2:15. our certificates.
Well, I can read something from the
Okay,
book that I've been sharing,
simple,
Osceola McCarthy,
simple wisdom.
Simple Wisdom.
Okay.
Got to get to my section.
Go ahead.
This one is called On Relationships, the chapter on relationships. Several times I have been asked whether Miss McCarty's life and acts are unique. Of course, one is always inclined to think that every life is unique, and certainly Miss McCarty is very special. However, in another sense, I have come to regard Miss McCarty as a representative of others who remain unsung. Many correspondents have told Miss McCarty that she reminds them of someone important in their lives. One person described an immigrant mother who worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time to put her children through school. Another person described a church janitor who paid attention to a small boy in need of a friend. Several described maids or housekeepers that played important roles in their formative years. Somehow, Miss McCarty's story struck a chord in these people's lives, reminding them of that person from long ago. Many of us, like those correspondents, had a special person in our lives as children, a person we respected, admired, and wanted to emulate. Sadly, as we grew older and more sophisticated, we often stopped seeing those people through eyes of love and wonder. Where once heroes had stood, we found out only ordinary people performing menial jobs. I think Miss McCarty has reminded the whole country that all work can be performed with dignity and infused with quality. She reminds me, her friend and admirer, that I must be slow to dismiss anyone as unimportant. That's Paul Laughlin, the one I spoke about yesterday, who was her banker at Trustmark Bank in Hattiesburg.
Oh, okay.
I was an only child in a house full of adults, so I didn't get into much mischief. But if I did do something wrong, my mother would spank me. She lived her life before me as an example and taught me the difference between right and wrong. She also taught me the consequences of misbehaving. Most of the children take their habits from the mother and father. They're going to try to do what they see mama and daddy do. My grandmother was the closest thing I had to a hero as a child. She was sweet to me. People tell me now that I am a hero, but I don't feel that way. I am nobody special. I am a plain, common person. I am no better than anybody else, and I don't know anything. I don't want to be put up on a pedestal. I want to stay right here on the ground. People ask me all the time who my friends are. I tell them that God is my best friend and that my mother was my next best friend. Them 2 loves you can't resist. I had the advantage of 2 loving homes as a child. I moved back and forth between my mother's house and my uncle's house. He was like a father to me, and I loved his children. We played well, and they taught me how to do new things I had never tried. We got along all right. We were close. Family is the greatest blessing in this life. My relatives were not light-hearted people, but I had a cousin who made me laugh all the time. She told silly stories like I had never heard before. I tell you, laughter is a good release. It's a blessing to be able to laugh at yourself. It is important to make special memories with the people you love. Everyday life fades from your mind, but it is easy to remember the celebrations and good times. I can't recall what we talked about on ordinary evenings, but I do remember Christmases spent with my mother, grandmother, and aunt. During that season, they worked most nights babysitting or serving at parties. They usually came home around midnight, loaded down with big plates of food. We would light the Christmas tree and sit down to a late dinner. At those times, we took joy in being together. My favorite part of the Bible is the 23rd Psalm. My teacher made me learn it years ago, and it has stayed with me. Teachers can do that. Give a child something to hold on to or a new way of seeing the world. I'll never forget it. I know what it's like to be left alone in the world. Sometimes it strikes you so hard to let go of the people you love. But when it's their time to go, you don't have a choice. One thing that comforts me is the hope that I will see them again. I look forward to that. I think that all people are equal, but that doesn't mean that all people should have the same things. I don't think the Lord intends for everybody to have the same. Some have more and some have less. It's no cause to get jealous. You can have what you are willing to work and sacrifice for. But if somebody has more, that is no cause to think hard of that person. You have to learn to accept what you have. Building community is not that hard. It just takes ordinary friendliness. The woman who took me to the doctor when my arthritis got bad is a checkout person at my grocery store. When she helped me with my groceries all those years, we spoke. I didn't stand there looking at the floor or the ceiling. We became acquainted. Here is Miss Osceola McCarty returning home after receiving an honorary award. She received an honorary degree from Harvard University on June 8, 1996. And this photo is by Jason Hurd. So that's her chapter on relationships. I just keep learning so much about Miss Osceola McCarty.
Wow.
And so if there's anyone who, pardon me?
I'll say I agree with her about family. I'm big on seeing my family, and I try to see everybody at least once or twice a year.
Yeah, but family is very important. Very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this lady is just is more amazing and more amazing. The more you tell just bring them up to speed. Clarence and Charlie Ann. I'm not sure Charlie Ann may know Miss McCarty is and why she became University of Southern Mississippi's most famous benefactor.
Yes, Miss Osceola McCarty grew up in a family business. It was a small family laundry business. She did not have the opportunity to continue her education because she had to stop school at age 8 and to take care of her sick aunt. Her mother had been raped by someone in the woods when Miss McCarty, that's how Miss McCarty, in other words, came to the world. Her mother was raped. And over time, the family moved to Hattiesburg, and they continued that laundry business. We don't know how much money the family made on a given day in terms of a person to person or family to family contact. But during those days, they made their living from the predominantly white society. They would iron and wash and iron their clothes. And over time, Miss McCarty started saving her money. She started saving her money very early. Perhaps one of her family members, maybe her uncle or her mother or her father, told her how to do that. But she would invest her money at Trustmark Bank there in Hattiesburg, and she dealt with compound interest in terms of more money coming in her bank accounts over time. For instance, if she had, let's say, $6,000, if she had that much, and she didn't bother it at all, then within about 10 years, that would have increased to more than $10,000, like that. So she was guided by the banker there at Trustmark Bank. She took half of her earnings and donated them to Hattiesburg so that African American children could go to college. And she took the rest of that, which was $150,000, and she donated it to her family members. I had the opportunity to meet her during an interview at Jackson State when she wrote this book. And she put her autograph in the book. I have the card of the representative who was there with her. And I am so happy that I kept these items. But the main thing is what she says in her book, the legacy that she has passed down to us in terms of saving, in terms of being generous one to another, in terms of taking care of self, just in terms of being an ordinary human being. A woman who was not able to even get a middle school education, let alone a college education, but has blessed more than 400 students as of 2014. So you can imagine what the number is like now to go to USM and get scholarships and be able to survive there at the university because of simple wisdom done by Miss Osceola McCarty. Just a jewel of a lifetime.
A life well spent. Yes, she is just a great example of humanity and caring about your fellow man. I mean,
Yes.
over 400 students, wow, that is amazing. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Dr. Benson before we, Clarence is going to read a few pages and then our hero is going to read before we move on. Next reader.
I appreciate you reading about her because we need to see our hometown heroes. We need to see that people, local people, are heroes.
That's right.
And it's inspiring. It's really inspiring. When you think you can't do, you take and put your pennies together, nickels and dimes and quarters and dollars, and you can do some things.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, that's so true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, quite often we see the same people in front of us.
That's right.
Leaders, whatever. We are bombarded with them and their efforts. But ordinary people are often unsung. And we know that they exist because they come from our families and they come from our friends. And we have benefited and continue to benefit from them. When we look at Dr. King, for instance, and the marches, there were many unsung heroes. And that was the reason why the women started speaking up in terms of recognizing them, Angela Davis and all of the others. You see, so they had to go into their own movement to be heard. So that the men could recognize, well, wait, we're the ones who carried you. We have your backs. And you're running away with everything. So we have to let the world know what we have done. And it was the same thing with the white women and liberation. How many of them were wanting the Black women to come over and do what they wanted them to do. And the muted group was to continue to be muted. And so we have to think about liberation in terms of freedom always being bought with a price. It's always bought with the price. And we can't wait on somebody to come and tell our stories. There's a poem in my book, Miss Mary, about that. Can't wait on the people to discover us. I think it's called self-realization. We cannot wait on them to discover us. We have to make our own mark. That is very important. Just like these children are before us, they are making their marks.
That's right.
And I'm very, very impressed with what virtual reading under Miss Meredith McGee is doing. It's just a wonderful thing. And there's no telling next year this time where it's going to be. Because there will be more children who will be doing Zoom. There will be more. And by that time, Miss McGee is going to be a pro with Zoom. So she's going to know how to do everything on Zoom, you see. It's just a learning experience and it never stops.
That's
Yes,
right. Well, thank you so much. And Clarence, you ready to read? Oh, and tell me what you're reading, so I can type it in the chat. Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm reading How to Dig a Hole to the Other Side of the World.
Hold it up for me. Dig a hole. Okay.
Find a soft place, take a shovel, and start to dig a hole. The dirt you dig is called a loam or topsoil. It is made up of tiny bits of rocks mixed with many other things, such as plants and worms that died and rotted long ago. When you have dug through topsoil, you will come to clay or gravel or sand. The digging will be harder. When the hole is 5 or 6 feet deep, you had better ask a friend to help. He can pull up the clay or gravel in a bucket while you stay at the bottom of the hole and keep digging. Sooner or later, you will come to rocks, all sorts of rocks. Big rocks, little rocks, granite, limestone, sandstone. If you started a hole in Africa, you might find diamonds. In Brazil, you might find emeralds. In other places, you might find coal, gold, or silver. You may hit water. Rain sinks through the topsoil and gathers in pools and underground rivers. If you come to water, you should put on a diving suit. You may come to a lake of black, gooey oil. If you hit oil, it would be best to give up this hole and start another one somewhere else. Keep drilling. When you have drilled down a mile or so, the rock will be warm. This is because heat flows up into the rock from the center of the earth. You may hit boiling water or steam. This is because rainwater drips down through cracks onto very hot rock. Sometimes it comes up again. In some places on Earth, hot water bubbles up in springs or shoots up in geysers. Because of boiling water and steam, you will need to asbestos diving suit. Stay out of the way of geysers. If you got caught in a geyser, it might carry you up to the surface and shoot you into the air. When you came down, you will have to start digging all over again. Keep drilling for 10 or 20 miles. You will come to a kind of rock called basalt. Basalt is black and hard and smooth and heavy. There is a layer of basalt or 3 miles thick trapped around the earth. Keep drilling. As you go deeper, the basalt will get hotter and hotter. It would get so hot that it will melt and glow dark red. Melted basalt is called magma. This is the stuff that sometimes shoots out of cracks in the earth and makes volcanoes. When it cools on the top of the ground, it is called lava. Volcanoes are very dangerous. Be careful and don't get caught in one. To go through red hot magma, you will need a jet propelled submarine. It's It must have a supercooling system, a fireproof skin, and a gel at the tip of its nose. Your nose spaceship must be your nose spaceship must be very strong. An ordinary one would be squashed by the weight of the magma around it, or burned by the heat. Down here below the crust of the earth, it is hotter than any fire you've ever felt, and it will get hotter and hotter the deeper you go. When you have gone down about 150 miles, you are in what is called a mantle of the earth. The mantle is made of good basalt that is melted into goo, and at the same time is harder than steel. It is melted by the great heat and is hard because the great weight above pressing it down. Keep drilling. That's the special machine you'll probably need to use after a while if you're still digging.
Clarence, let me ask you this. You said that you could drill for gold, coal, and silver. Where are they drilling and what mines where are these mines? And who is doing the drilling and what are they doing with the resources once they're drilled? Do you know?
Well, they're saying that you when you're digging the hole, you may come across that. But if you're in Brazil, you may come across emeralds, and if you're in Africa, you may come across diamonds. And if maybe they don't really say, but if you're in America, you may come across coal, gold, or silver, but they don't say.
Okay. Well, maybe you could read a little more of it at the afternoon session, because I was really interested in that, because you was mentioning that the drill is very, very hot, which I didn't know that. My grandfather used to work at a mine in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I believe, where coal was. But I never heard a story about people actually being in a mine with equipment. So I thought that was a very good thing that you taught me. I'm an adult and you are a child reader, so I thought, wow, that's interesting. Thank you so much for that.
Very good, very good.
Yes,
Thank
very
you.
good, very good. Any other
Yes,
questions or
very
comments
good.
before Harry? And now we went over today, but I think it was worth it, because we've learned a lot in an hour and a half. So and thank you
Clarence
for
gave us a science.
allowing us to work through.
Clarence gave us.
What say that?
I said Clarence gave us. He gave us a science lesson.
Yes.
Talking about the different.
Yeah. Okay. That's why we need teachers around. That's teaching how to put things in perspective.
Well, they're teaching us. They're teaching us all.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all learning here. So, Harry, are you ready to read last and take us out of here?
Yes, ma'am. Sally's spaceship.
Hold it up, Harry. Down a little bit. Sally's spaceship. Okay, I got it now.
I want to see the stars, said Sally. So Sally made a spaceship. Sally put a box. Sally got some string. Sally worked on a long time. You will need to sleep, said Mom. I will take a pillow, said Sally. You need a friend, said Mom. I'll take Spot, said Sally. I made a spaceship so I can go see the star. Bye, Mom, said Sally. Sally saw the stars again.
That's it.
Mom,
Okay.
it's worth 87 words.
Okay.
87 words.
Well, very good.
Good
So,
job.
so I see you guys.
Bye, Sally.
Oh, we got this certificates at 2:15 session. So we're gonna let about 3 people read then, and then we're gonna let everybody will read someone else's certificate instead of the person reading their own. Harry, go ahead and give us our closing statement.
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay. One second. 1 second, Harry.
I want, I always enjoy the children, but Chair's got my mind. I think I'm gonna have a grilled cheese sandwich for lunch because of what she read. Talking about that cheesy sandwich. I said, yeah, grilled cheese sandwich would be good.
Yeah, that sounds good. Grilled cheese sandwiches and chips or something. All right, I enjoyed all of these stories. I tell you, this has been a wealth an intellectual revolution.
Makes my heart glad. These children are really, they really inspiring me.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, Harry, give us our closing statement so we can.
Thank you for attending this Zoom, and thank you for my gift. I thank you very much for my gift. Thank you for attending this Zoom.
Okay, then see you at 2:15, Harry. Everybody else.
And thank you for my gift.
Okay, then. All right. Harry received
See y'all later.
Harry received a special gift from the Mississippi Blues Society. They saw him on the Zoom regularly. He's been here over 30 times. We'll give you more about it at 2:15, but everybody is getting a certificate for participation. All right. See y'all later.
Bye.